work at your school. So I'll jump into essentials. I'm currently in a student, from a student perspective here. I can choose my topics here. I can click browse all topics. If I go into browse all topics, I can change my curriculum. I'm currently set to grade 9. So I've jumped into measurement, and I'm going to jump into one here where I can show you some of that interactivity. Oops. So prisms. And so it might look quite well like you'd expect from a textbook or an ebook. Some diagrams as well as the content there to express the content. This is where we try and be a bit different with some of that interactivity. So this one you could use as a teacher with your essentials package. You could use this as a teaching tool. So you might have your class here. You've got the tool there to use. So has anyone used GeoGebra applets before? Yeah. So we both make some of our own and source some others as well. So rather than having to find all those resources, we just embed them for you in the chapters. So this one, for example, a lot of teachers sort of go, okay, what if we changed one of those dimensions? What do you think is now going to happen with that surface area? And they have a bit of a play around with it that way. And students as well can all access it from their own account. And really, we find this is really great for those kinesthetic and visual learners who would like something that helps them conceptualize the concept a bit more. So that's why we love to include those applets in the ebook. We also include worked examples in the ebook as well. So there'll be a few questions that we throw into the chapters here in this section. And again, as a teacher, you could use this as a teaching tool. Run through those questions as a class. And then when you're ready, hit the solution button, and the solution with every step will be there for you. So unlike a textbook, which might have just a few worked examples and then just a few questions with only the answer in the back of the book, every question in MathSpace is a worked example with solutions of every step of working, which is really important for later. What I'll show you is our interactive questions where students can actually enter steps of working rather than just multiple choice or final answer. But just before that, I'll show you that there's also videos attached to our questions. And so we have about 7,000 videos now. And MathSpace is created in Australia, so you'll hear Australian accents and Australian content, which a lot of schools like, rather than having it sort of made in America and trying to be converted to Australia. Just a nice little extra feature some schools like. And we try and make our, I don't know if this sounds, that's okay. We try and make our videos more conceptual in nature rather than just step 1, do this, step 2, do this. So we'll explore things like, well, what are some other ways we could solve this question? What are some common misconceptions we could make here? And that's the approach we try to take philosophically when we're making our videos. I'm going to jump through to the next section, which is the questions. And again, this could be used as a teaching resource. We now generate from that chapter about 20 or so questions in this one in particular. And so we've got 25 questions in this one. And again, all of these are worked examples that can be done. Not only that, but each of these, because it's been created in a problem template, each of these can be randomized when we try this problem. So this is where we can actually explore the question, either again as a teacher from the front, you could run through it, or each student could now start practicing these questions with the try this problem. So this one, by chance, I've happened to get 6 centimeters as well, but I might have gotten 4 centimeters, 7 centimeters, etc. So every time I try that problem, it should randomize the number in that question. So I'm able to try the same type of question, but there's going to be variation there. Now, as I do this question, as I mentioned, we allow for step-by-step working. So a lot of programs out there that either you may have used in the past or are currently out there in the market will only allow for multiple choice or for final answer. So you might get students who are writing down all their steps of working on a bit of paper, they put in their final answer, and then they've been told that they were wrong, but they have no idea at what point they actually are wrong. And we really want to create something that actually tells them at what stage that they're doing something wrong and fix the problem there. So we allow for, again, they can watch the video if they'd like, but they can ask for hints. And because we're at the start of the question, we're getting hints related to the start of this question here. And I've now, in my second hint, been given some scaffolding for that particular, for this question. So I'm going to enter that step of working. And I've been given a yellow tick here to indicate that I've done a correct step of working, but I'm not actually finished yet. I need to keep going. And so what we would like is now if the student's stuck again, we want to give them a hint that's related to the step that they've just entered. And so with our problem template, how we've done it, we've done a hint related to whatever step they've entered there. So when we ask for the hint this time, we're going to get relevant information for that particular part of the question that they're on. So which is going to be helpful for me, so I can answer this next step of the question. And again, I've been told that that's a correct step of working, but I need to continue going onwards. Again, when I search for a hint, it's going to be related to that step. And now you can see, so if I run out of hints, I've been given this next step option. And so just before I do that, I'll do one extra step. So again, MathSpace will say that's a correct step. So I've run out of hints, so if I'm really stuck, if I don't know what the next step is, I can ask for the next step, and essentially if I just kept running through the hints of the next steps, MathSpace is giving me an explained step-by-step process of how to do that question. So that's how MathSpace does its questions, both in the Essentials package and when you assign tasks, it'll be that same process, step-by-step working. But all I've shown you there is part of Essentials. But if you're looking for something for the teachers as well, so I can jump into what that looks like. And so here we have your planner page as the teacher. This is where all your tasks are, both the adaptive tasks and the custom tasks, and there's one other type called a fast track, which is kind of like a pre-test. So now with these tasks, you can do a quick hover over to see what are the results for what you're working on, and what they've been working on, and the date that it's on is the due date for that particular task. So you might use this as a quick way of seeing, okay, did my students actually do their homework? How are they working on their task for today? How is their improvement going over the past weeks? So I'm going to jump into one of this. It won't have any demo data, but I'll show you what it sort of would look like. So you'll be able to see as the results, the time the students spent on the task, the number of questions, and the progress. So I mentioned that MathSpace can do adaptive tasks, and what that means is rather than just the traditional, I'll give all my students the same 10 questions, and then see how many out of 10 can they get correct. And usually if they can't get the first few easy ones, they're going to not be able to do any of the rest. What MathSpace does is it takes a mastery-based approach. So rather than that we say, okay, we'll assign a particular subtopic that we want the student to master. And then once we've done that, everyone in the class will start at a sort of lower end of that subtopic. For the students who excel, they'll progress in their mastery. For the students who struggle with that first type of question, it might push them back a little bit. And then once they kind of get that ready and they show that they haven't used next steps, they haven't got lots of incorrect steps, MathSpace will know, okay, the student actually understands the content now, and then it'll start to push them along in that mastery of that. Yep.
Sounds similar to mathematics in that way. Can you accelerate a student automatically if you know that they'll be able to cope with it?
Yep, so that's where we introduce the fast track test. So they're really good designers' way of doing, so rather than assigning subtopics and getting to go all those subtopics, you just give them the topic and it'll take a question from all those subtopics. And if they already understand that content, basically it will accelerate them through those topics. So really good for doing as pre-test and just sort of seeing where your class is at. So yeah, what we might see here is there's one student who's done 8 minutes with 3 questions and that they're at 9%. Another student might be at 5 minutes with 5 questions and they're halfway through because they've just gotten everything right. So you're going to see variation with your class in terms of time and number of questions. So that's actually a really good thing. It means each student is getting their individualized lesson for them and they're at the stage that they need to be at. And it's helpful for you because then you know, okay, this student seems to be, they're at 5 questions and they're still at 10%. Maybe they're struggling, so I might go give some particular attention to that student to help them. So that's what can be really helpful with that. If I click on the scorecard here, this will give me the really specific information of each student and the task that they're doing. So I can see all the steps of working, every hint that they've asked for, every video that they might have watched, every next step, every correct step of working, for every question that they've done in that task. So I can get that really specific, so I can see what are the misconceptions going on, what hints are happening and working for my students. And so you can get that really zoomed in look, or you can sort of see this overview. And one other way of seeing an overview is through results by question. So with results by question, you're seeing these are the types of questions that were asked of the students in the task. And you can see what was their participation rate, so how many participated in that type of question, and what was the average result. So if I know these two types of questions are going to be on the exam, and it's around revision time, this one, they're doing quite well, okay, maybe I feel pretty confident that they're going to be alright with that type of question. This one here, they're really struggling. I might create a custom task filled with just maybe 5 of those types of questions to really try and boost them in that understanding. Or I might know that my lesson next week is going to focus on this type of question because they're all really struggling with that type of question. So when I was teaching at a prac at a school, this was actually something that I used for my students, where I could see that they were struggling in one particular area. So I created a custom task each week with the same types of questions, but Mathspace would always vary the numbers, so I didn't have to worry about giving them different types of questions. It all did that for me. And I could see over the weeks, just by hovering over, their increase in that type of question, which is really exciting to see. So Mathspace is all about getting that data and leveraging that data to how you shape your lessons, which students need the most help where, that sort of thing. So another way you can see information is through the mastery page. So on the mastery page you can see an overview of, so you can look at different year level and topic, and these are all your subtopics. So if I know that these 3 topics are all going to be it for this term, my goal is to try